Hey everybody, GravyTrain here with another episode of GravyTraining. Today we're going to do the Hero Spotlight number 11 for Lily. So, I am going to be keeping on the Lily skin. This is the Grove Guardian skin, blah blah blah. This is the one that's pretty overpowered. Um, she starts in wood form, and when she's in this wood form, she's basically the next best thing to invulnerable. She's got like basically it's like Agnon stone form, except that hers can't get purged or stolen or anything else. And when she gets down to when she would normally take a killing blow, sort of like Unbreakable Heart, she actually then goes into it again and gains 25% of her health. So that's pretty good. Um, Also got her Epic maxed, so she gets 30% skill, which is gross. 20% attack, 20% max health. Um, and then the effect is a 30% chance to attack for 3x damage. Grows allied plants, which means her. If you're running Rocky for some reason, I wouldn't, but if you are, it'll grow Rocky. Or if you've done her third level ability and made everybody in the group plants, it'll grow everybody in the group. So yeah, let's look at. So I tend, for the most part, I plan on experimenting with a really offensive or attack based build, but I tend to rune heavily in favor of defense. So what I have is a tank rune on her. I threw a warrior rune just because I didn't really have defensive runes that had the kind of stats that I was looking for, whereas the warrior rune did. Yeah, and I might have one right now. I'm not sure, but anyhow, defensive. Kind of same thing here. I took the shield piercing rune, and it had good defense. She doesn't really need an unbreakable heart. That's just kind of ridiculous overkill. So her basic attacks have shield piercing, and this has actually come in fairly handy. She's got a guardian rune for the defense, and that amplifies all this other defense. And then a hero rune for defense, and damage reduction. So all in all, her stats, you will hardly find a tougher Lily out there. It should be fairly straightforward for you if you don't have the skin to hit around 20,000 defense, and or 18,000 to 20,000 is very realistic without having uber stuff. So you may not see these numbers, but you can get in the same ballpark. Like an 18,000 defense Lily is still tough as nails. So do what you can. Try to get her skill at least a little bit boosted if you can. It will help with the damage and the healing that she does with the vines and some of her other stuff. So worthwhile. She gets her crit is max based purely off of skill, so that's not a big deal. And then her health. I mean, the tank rune gives some health, and the epic gives some health. So her passive abilities. So I didn't mention this before. Lily is a caster and a plant. There are two plant heroes, and that is Lily and Rocky, the Shiitake. She's the only one that's really viable right now. But she, as we'll see, one of her abilities turns all heroes into plants as far as getting the benefits. So, first ability is plant growth. Increases max health and attack at the end of each round. Stacks up to 8 times, resets each encounter, and can't be copied or stolen. So you can get up to 8. It's kind of less likely because anything that purges will purge and reset that back down to 0. So, but you are going to get bonuses, and it's going to increase max health and attack every round. So, staying alive longer means she's going to do more and more damage, be harder and harder to kill. Next, she is magical, so she takes less damage from non-physical attacks. So any of the spirit or fire or ice or anything else takes less damage from those. That does make her vulnerable to heroes like Koros, but not really a huge threat. She has a pleasant scent, which means there's a small chance to lower an attacker's attack when they hit her. I've never seen that really come into play. I mean, I'm sure it has, but it's never made a huge difference. Oxidized Sap. This is a somewhat important ability. Nature allies deal extra damage to armored and construct enemies. So, your Hagrams, your Drak. She is actually used in reptile teams, which now that the shield piercing runes exist, that might even be viable again. I haven't had a chance to test it, but so yeah, she gives armor piercing, and well, she deals extra damage to armored and construct enemies. Mystical, so she gets boosted damage versus tanks and slow targets. And last but not least, this comes from the skin. So if you do not have the skin equipped, you will not get this. She starts dungeons in oak form, it's that wooden log form. Reducing damage taken, she becomes debuff immune until her first turn, whereas she goes out of the oak form. Cannot be stolen, copied, or purged, and unlike some of the other forms that, say, Selwyn or Agnon has, this one she actually can't. If Lily would be killed for the first time, she enters Oak form instead, and heals 25% of her max health. So it's pretty overpowered, because that Oak form, I mean, basically it's like 90% damage reduction. It's pretty ridiculous. I've had people trying to kill my Lily with Taunt on her and spend an entire round with their entire team and not even move her health bar. So it's pretty good. I mean, there's definitely, it's not impervious, but it's pretty good. Her basic attack, so we already talked about her epic stuff. So Sapping Vines. This is her first ability. It's a ranged nature attack on all enemies for 847 base damage, and lifesteals a third of the damage dealt for allies. Reduces enemy healing, and grows allied plants for 3 turns. So this is not exactly... This is kind of a unique ability, because it's not actually targeting a specific hero. I mean, yeah, you click on somebody, but it's not a buff or a debuff or anything like that that's being applied to an enemy. It's being applied to the environment. So that means that it can't be dispelled, purged, anything like that, because it's just an effect that hits at the end of each turn or at her turn. Some point in the turn, it damages them, everybody who's alive for set amount. Skill will increase the damage dealt and will also increase the healing. So I mean, all in all, this is really good. It also strikes at the beginning of the turn, so it's great for killing barbarians and things like that. If you don't have shield piercing, that kind of thing, because the round will flip, this will do the damage, and their immunity will be gone. Pollen Cloud is the next one, and notice she's not a big damage dealer. I mean, she can do good damage, but it's mostly over time. It's a ranged nature attack on all enemies for 635 damage. Grants evasion, 48% chance to dodge, which is good against, like, the number of times I've had this go off and seen Agnon go to do the thing where he picks him up and drops you. I can't remember the name of it right now. But Plummeting Doom. When he goes to do Plummeting Doom on somebody and he just misses because of that evasion. And it buffs defense by 78% for all allies. That is huge. I mean, so 78%. What is 78%? Basically 80% of 26. That's another 5. It's another 20,000 defense. So she's going to be at about 48,000 defense for 2 turns. Falcon will be at about almost 30,000 defense. I mean, Dagran, well, my Dagran right now is not very tough, but Azam will be at like a ridiculous amount. So, I mean, a 78% buff is huge. So that was Pollen Cloud. So this is a nice kind of offensive, defensive, and kind of buff kind of thing. And then the last one is one with nature. So allies gain damage reflection. So this is going to be like a damage shield that reflects 114% of damage taken back at the attacker. Now that is damage taken. So it's not the damage that they're dealing. You actually have to take that damage. It deals back the same amount and more to the attacker. And it lifesteals for 94% of damage on all attacks for 3 turns. And it grows allied plants. Nature allies become plants until the end of dungeon. So that, I had forgotten that it was just nature allies. So you're not going to be turning Valken and Theron into plants, but you will turn Drak and Hagrum and heroes like that. Hansuke, whatever else, you'll turn them into plants, and they will get all the benefits of the growing health and everything like that. So, lifesteal, everybody gets the lifesteal, damage shield, and then the benefit to plants. So that's it as far as the stats. So there's a number of ways that you can use Lily in a team. There was a big popular team for a long time that was Emily, Lily, Agnon, and Furno. I was never really all that interested in that team, but a lot of people used it quite successfully for a long time. I mean, it still works to this day, but it's starting to age because it doesn't really keep up with the meta anymore, especially not for Jin and some of the new stuff coming out. But what I do, my new team, is as follows. So on defense, I have Furno in here because it just boosts all of the damage reduction first turn. This team has been pretty consistently. I did lose a defense here, but I succeeded here. I have to remember to revenge this one. Matter of fact, we'll do that right now. Yeah, so he's got extremely powerful runes, but I'm not afraid. I may lose, but I'm not afraid. We will see what happens. But yeah, my team is Dagran, Valken, Lily, and Theron. I have a tank rune, as we saw on Lily. And the beauty here is you can see all of this damage going to Lily, and her health bar is barely not even moving. So now I am I'm actually going to haste Falcon because Emily wasn't going next. Once again, she is such a good tank for the first round. Alright, and now I can do Falcon the hasted thing. And follow up again. And pop off the vines, which I unfortunately was hoping it wouldn't get, is Emily, or when she would go to res, but she did. There we go, alright. Except that I'm wounded, so I'm not going to take healing. So let's do this. They're actually somewhat in trouble, so my goal now, because they're going to take this damage here from this stuff pretty soon, is to get everybody as low on health as I can, or dead. So Emily's down. Dagrin will be down here shortly. So now I want to damage Falcon, get him down low, so that the vines can kill him. And here it won't matter because these are dwarves, the evasion won't matter, but the lifesteal will be good. And I'm gonna lose barely. Yeah, I think maybe if I had been able to kill Dagrin. But typically, this team does extremely well. I mean, that was an extreme case. So here, we'll go up against the same type of thing. Same dwarf team, 55-92, so this is no slouch on the defense. Exact same lineup. The nice thing about this is you really don't need to swap anybody out, whether you're against Jin or against anything else. And the final advantage of this team is that things can start to go sideways, and this team is very resilient. So he has no tank rune. So instead of doing the haste right now, what I am going to do is Dwarven Smackdown on Emily, so that Emily dies. Now I don't have to worry about reses. And since I'm not hasting, I want to go ahead and freeze these guys. I want to use to war. And I will drop the vines. And it looks like he got rid of debuffs, but he didn't get rid of the frozen on their end, which is great as well. And yeah, we are, and it also vines pop Gage's shield. So this is looking very, very, very good for us. I'm gonna haste there at this point. Easy peasy, like everybody's at full health right now. Not a strain. There's never a point where I was like, uh-oh, this is gonna be rough. Some teams you will, absolutely. But like yesterday I was running this team, I got a streak up to about 46 and finally got beat by a Barb Dwarf team. So it's strong. You can easily get runs on this, even if your stats aren't quite as high. You might not be able to go quite as long. The really big thing is Lily needs to be as tough as you can possibly make her. The other nice thing is because her defense is so high, even when her taunt goes down, she tends to be the target. So in this case, I know Dagger or Valken will go, and then Emily will go after Valken. So if I haste my Valken, his Valken will go, then my Valken. But I'm worried that I'm going to get frozen. So I'm going to do Dwarven Smackdown again. It also gets rid of that taunt and kills him. Gotta love Theron. So, yeah. Let's do Emily. Damn it. Lily on top 5, which will kill Emily. Not really worried about Dagger dying. Yeah, like I said, the team is very, very stable and resilient. To come back from what looks like a negative position very, very easily. The number of battles that I was like, man, I've probably lost this. And then come back through. It's too high. Okay. This will be cake. We'll do one more. It's one more battle. Yeah, I mean, Lily is a great tool. She's a powerful hero. She is an A. She is not quite an S. Even in this scenario, she's really like, you could do that with a different hero for sure. She is powerful, but she is not all powerful. She's not a Valken or a Jin or anything game changing like that. It'll be Emily next, so I do not want to take care of Share Resin. It's probably a mistake. No, because he's still going to go for her, which is fine. Aerostorm, not a huge deal, and he's dead. Defense debuff. Haste Falcon. Theron's gonna die, but it doesn't matter. Yep. That's it. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you are not already subscribed, I would definitely appreciate some subs. I'm like 11 subscribers away from being able to get that readable URL, so that would be very nice. Tell your friends. Thanks for coming out. Have a great day.